Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, I got Dr. Becky Whetstone. Did I get the last name right?
Yes.
It's funny because I wanted to practice with you, but I said, no, I think I can handle it. So, Dr. Becky is an Arkansas native and has a PhD in marriage and family therapy from St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas. She is a licensed professional counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist, also in Arkansas, and has a LMFT license in Texas and an LPC, right, being renewed. All her licenses are in her married name, Becky Whetstone. Cheers?
It's like the chair you're sitting in. It's just
Cheers. Gotcha.
spelled funny.
Yeah. Well, anyway, first of all, Dr. Becky, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I am thrilled to be here. You have no idea how I could talk about this subject day and night.
Well, listen, it's my honor. So, first of all, Dr. Becky, tell us about your journey. How did you get here? What was Dr. Becky's journey like?
Well, the truth is, my dad was a big newspaper reader and he encouraged us to read the newspaper when we were growing up. And all I wanted to read in the newspaper was the advice columns. I was obsessed with Dr. Joyce Brothers and Ann
Yes.
Landers and Dear Abby. And then my mom had Ladies Home Journal, Can This Marriage Be Saved? And then would see teen magazines where they would ask questions, and I just couldn't get enough. I mean, I literally could not get enough. And so I kind of set a goal for myself to become an advice columnist. And
Okay.
I went to college and got a degree in journalism. And I was told that I couldn't just start off after I graduated being an advice columnist. That you had to go cover, murders and house fires and stuff, and
Oh,
then get
geez.
paid very, very little. And I said, no, I only wanted to write feature articles. I had no interest in hard news. So I went into sales. But a few years later, after I went through my first divorce, I had gone to a bunch of self-help seminars and stuff and workshops where they get you all fired up. And in
Been
those
there, done that. Yeah.
well, I came out of there like a missile, and I was like, I'm going to be a columnist, an advice columnist. I'm going to go back to that dream and I'm going to go get a job at a newspaper. And that's all there is to it. So I basically drove the people at the San Antonio Express News crazy until they gave me an opportunity there. And I started off as a feature writer, which my professors had told me you can't do, that no one will do that. But
Yeah.
yes, don't ever listen to those people that tell you that you can't do that, or it's not possible. And then within 2 years, I had talked them into writing a column. And so I wrote this column about relationships and everything. And people just went crazy. They wouldn't let me write it in question and answer format. So I ended up kind of writing like a Carrie Bradshaw Sex and the City thing about being
Yeah.
a single mom, dating, getting dumped, meeting flakes and losers, and so many people related to it. And we started having like singles parties sponsored by the newspaper, and we would have 600 people show up for these parties.
Wow.
Traffic backed up, because singles I was preaching like how to behave properly when you're dating, and how to do this with integrity and kindness and decency. And everybody was all, yes, we want this, we want this.
Right.
So after my journalism career ended, I still wanted to be talking about relationships. So I went to graduate school.
Okay.
That's how this whole thing started.
Gotcha. And today's subject, it's about relationships and marriage. And Dr. Becky, I got to go straight to the point. Is marriage dead? Is it, well,
God, Bill. Damn.
I wanted to get to the point. It's funny because I one time I wanted to get married when I was in my 40s. That ship sailed at that time. I would never count it. I would never add the R in never. So it's NEVE. The R is still, shaky, but no, seriously, because I'm hearing more and more stories where men don't want to get married, especially younger men, older men in their 40s and 50s, once they get divorced, they don't want to get married anymore. is are both sides just unrealistic in their expectations?
Oh, yes. Marriage is not dead, first of all. It is not dead. But I will say that the generation, that's been around for the last 30 or 40 years are really the first kids who grew up when divorce was more common than it wasn't. Like
Right.
when I was growing up, not that many kids came from divorced families, and people just stayed together miserably. So it was the later generations, the people who are now 50, 40, 30, that grew up in divorced homes, and they didn't like it and they hated everything about it. And so a lot of people, I think, were influenced, either I'm never going to get married or I'm never going to get divorced kind of thinking, because they had lived it as a horrible experience. But my pet peeve is that, we go to school and they teach us all these ridiculous things that we're never going to learn, but they don't teach us anything about what it is to be a healthy adult, what it is to be healthy in relationships. So people are going out into the world winging it. Their criteria may be, well, I'm going to be nice, but
Right.
that's not enough. Relationship skills are kind of complicated, and there's things you need to learn. And of course we're all wounded pups, so you've got to
Yeah.
learn about that. And so people with no awareness, who have come from terrible role modeled families, are going out there and having a relationship, and they're getting married, and they don't know what they're doing, and they make a complete mess of it.
Yeah.
So I just can't believe how dysfunctional people are in relationships, in general.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that. First of all, Dr. Becky, can you hear me? Am
I
I?
can.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because I bumped into the table here. Because I'm seeing, like I said, I'm reading stuff about marriages and people don't want to get married anymore, at least on the men's side. Now, when you deal with couples or you deal with whether it's a single person and they want to get married, uh, are there any advice that you give them at least at the early stage? Because now I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, where women are getting and men are getting married at a later stage in life. And I'm talking about in their late 20s, early 30s. Where before I read it was in their early to mid 20s. Is that a
I think, I'm from,
statistic that is true?
well, yeah, I'm from Arkansas, and when I was in my 20s, if you weren't married by the time you if you weren't married by the time you were 25 to 30, you were unwanted. You were an undesirable. So there was some
100%. Yeah.
there was some pressure to, like, find somebody and hitch it up, so to save your reputation, you know. And now, thank God our culture has changed and that pressure isn't on people anymore. And so, and I love it that people are spending time being single, getting to know who they are as individuals, and learning how to be alone, and being more grown up. Like, your brain's not even fully developed till your late 20s, and so they're making sure their brains are finished cooking, and they've had a little bit of life experience. So the best news ever is that people are waiting later to get married, and I'm all for that. I don't think we should issue marriage licenses until age 30 or after, and unless I approve.
Sounds good to me. I endorse that. And so, is it, in your opinion, we talk with Dr. Becky Whetstone, and today's topic is about romance, relationships, and marriage. Is it because we're not getting to know the other person as well that maybe marriages are up? Was it 52% now? Divorce rate, I should say. Is it that we're not getting to know each other, or like you said, maybe the pressure of society, we got to rush into marriage?
Well,
What?
a lot of people, still want, if they're going to have kids, they want to be married. A lot of people still hold that value.
Yeah,
But it's not like it used to be. I mean, it used to be if you got pregnant and you weren't married, it was shame, just
yeah.
the worst thing in the world. That's lifted, thank God. But I think that, number one, a lot of people don't know themselves, and they're not healthy with themselves. And so these broken, wounded people are going out there and dating, and they meet wounded people who haven't done any healing work on themselves. And so you have two dysfunctional people who may be good people. They may have good jobs and be really nice people, but where all our damage shows up is in our interpersonal relationships. So we can all be on our best behavior for 6 months to 2.5 years. But then sooner or later, the dysfunctional thinking, the dysfunctional acting and stuff is going to start showing up in the marriage, and the couples are going to start having conflict and failure to communicate and all sorts of other problems. So I really think it's, if I tell people, if you will get healthy with yourself first and foremost and know what that is the best defense you have for having a good marriage, and then finding someone that's also dedicated to that. So I think people that are not capable of having great relationships are getting married. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you're right there. If the divorce rate is creeping over 50% now. So you said to get to know ourselves.
Yes.
What would that entail? Dating other people, getting our heart broken 100 times before we.
No.
I,
I mean, getting to know yourself is like getting to know what foods you like. You go
100%, yeah.
you go out there and taste life. Like I had back when I was a pleaser, this guy that I was dating, he said, "Let's go snow camping," and I was like, "Oh, how fun! Let's do it." But the voice in my head said, "Hell no, I don't want to go snow camping." But I
Right.
went because I wanted him to like me and I wanted to please him. And I went out and had one of the most miserable experiences of my life. So you know what? I learned that I'm never going to sell myself out again to please a guy, and I'm not ever going snow camping. So that's how I got to know myself in that experience. And that's why age is so good, is because the older you are, the more experiences you've had, and you know what is suitable for you and what is not. Like, do you want to live in the country? Do you want to live in the city?
Yeah.
I've known people that spend their whole lives living in apartments and they love it.
Right.
So it's just getting to know where you're the most comfortable, because at the end of the day, what we're all seeking is peace of mind. We want peace.
Yeah, 100%. I've been hearing
So
that for the last year. Yeah.
that's how you find out who you are, is when you're doing this, you feel peace. The things
Okay.
that aren't true to yourself, you have anxiety and dread and all sorts of negative feelings warning you that this isn't for you. So I
Yeah.
think people need to learn to listen to themselves.
I know I like what you said about waiting, to your late 20s, maybe early 30s, because obviously you have a little bit of life experience. You have witness to yourself, whether you had the heartbreak or you get to know yourself a little bit better. I definitely agree there. But Dr. Becky, now with the way social media is being portraying marriage, I can see the look in your eye. And guys are saying, "Oh, the marriage doesn't benefit men; it only benefits women." So how can we get the men to get back, as they say, back on the horse?
Well, I don't know what men are saying on social media, but in my experience, and I've seen thousands of couples in therapy,
Yeah, no, no. That's why I'm
and I
asking
have
because that's what I see. Yeah,
lots of single and married men, individual clients. And I don't see them shying away from marriage or, saying there's nothing in it for them. That's something new to me that I'm hearing today
yeah,
from you. But the thing is women have something that you guys that are heterosexual can't live without. There is nothing. A woman makes you feel a certain kind of way.
oh, 100%. Yeah,
Nobody else can make you feel, and nothing else can make you feel. Because otherwise, if that wasn't so, y'all wouldn't have anything to do with us.
yeah,
You know,
no, no, 100%. I
like
agree.
you would be hanging out with your guy friends all the time in the garage, and watching football games and stuff. But y'all are drawn to us like magnets because of you need that female energy. It just makes you high. It just makes you feel so good. So we have things that you need. There's no doubt about it. So
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
that's why you keep coming back for more, right? And so, and the truth is, in a healthy marriage, we're both focused on, each of us is focused on the other person. And in my marriage, my deal that I ask myself all the time is, how can I make my husband happy today?
Yeah.
What can I do for him? So you're supposed to have a giving spirit in marriage, and a wish to enhance your spouse's life. So I think a lot of men that have had the opposite experience, married someone immature who, maybe he made a lot of money, and maybe they were out to be able to buy nice things, and they weren't into, him. Some people are into what they can get out of a marriage, not the actual human being that they're choosing to spend their life with. So I think, that's another thing I say when you're in dating. You don't start off dating a woman as buying her things and fixing up her kitchen and stuff, because then if she's not into you yet, her brain's going to say, okay, so I care about what he can do for me. But you've got to make a woman like you as a human being, and as a friend, and as a companion, before you start showing her what you can do for her. Because you want her to love you.
I love that. So, okay. So as a man, how does that happen though? Because again, I'm doing the podcast, and I do a lot of reading. And now I think a lot of the women that say some of these things about they wanting the man to buy the groceries or pay for their nails, I think a lot of it's about clickbait, getting views. Because I never met anyone, even I have female friends that are in their 20s, and they don't even talk like that. But it seems like that's so pushed on social media that men are seen like, wait a minute, I'm going on a date and I have to pay for groceries. I have to pay for childcare. For a babysitter. It's crazy what we see out there now, Dr. Becky. And
there's no have tos. Y'all don't have to do a damn thing.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Most of us women, if you get a good woman, she's good to go. She can pay for the babysitter. She can buy her groceries. She can take care of herself. And she just wants a companion to enhance her life, because it just does. We live longer when we're married. I mean, it's a proven fact. I can't even remember what we were talking about.
No, I know, because I was saying, like, how can a man, if I got the question right, because I think what you were saying now, it got me, thinking of something else. But I think, how can a man not shower a woman so early on because he wants to show that he really cares about her? Because you said, let's get to know him first.
Yeah, no, but go have experiences, spend quality time, and be kind to her. I mean, a lot of us out here are starved for just kindness and someone to sit down and ask us questions about ourselves. I mean, when is the last time someone sat down with you, Will, and said, "Will, tell me everything about yourself. I want to hear everything about you." I mean, and
very rare.
Well, that's what I'm saying and people love that. I mean, that's how people bond and connect. Yeah. So be curious about each other. Ask. One of the predictors of a great marriage is, could you take an SAT test about your spouse and get a high score?
Wow.
Like, are you going to be able to talk about where your wife went to kindergarten and stuff like that? I mean, you've got to really get to know people on a deep level. So, that's what the early days of dating is to start finding out who they are and tell them who you are.
Getting to know each other.
Don't go buying those shoes with the red soles until they really like you, until they're in you. And then.
So, and I definitely agree. I like the fact that get to know him, ask questions. And I think that's a lot of the issues too, Dr. Becky, that on both sides, we don't ask enough questions about the other person and getting to know them. Because I even hear that online. He never asked anything about me. It was all about him and what he likes to do. Yeah, so go talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I've experienced that myself on dates where I sat there the whole evening and I was going, oh my God. It's like the guy sat down and started going, I'm John Brown. And I'm just going, it's like a scene in a movie, it's ridiculous. And I don't know if a lot of that is nerves, but once again, as I said before, I think a lot of people are not self-aware. They're not aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And successful people in relationships are self-aware. Like I get that feeling of when I've been talking too much about myself, like right now.
No, no, but I want you to. So it's all about you, Dr. Becky. I'm learning as I go along.
But
Um,
you know, you've got to have emotional intelligence, you
yeah,
know, about how much is too much and when should I pull back but also you need to have a sincere curiosity about like if I have a sincere curiosity to get to know you, Will,
yeah,
then I'm going to be asking you a ton of questions. I'm going to be sincerely curious
yeah,
about figuring out who you are
yeah. No,
and
that's
wondering if you could fit in my world.
right, right. I like that. Well, first of all, Dr. Becky, my God, I could probably talk to you. I'm going to have you back on again. That's definitely for
Okay.
sure.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
Talk a little bit more about your practice. How do you
Yeah.
get clients? How did it look for Dr. Becky? We'll obviously get into that, but tell us a little bit more about the clients you work with and how do you get the clients and things like that.
Okay, well, you know, these days, I write a blog, and that my blog's pretty popular, and it's on Medium, and I'm a tell it like it is, no nonsense girl, and but I try to be funny and entertaining while
Yeah.
squeezing in some important information, and you can find that on Medium slash Dr. Becky, and do spell out Dr. Doctor Becky Becky.
Yeah, I'll put that in the
A
show
lot
notes. Yeah.
a lot of people read my blog and call me up and say, I have to have you help me with my marriage, or I have to have you help me with my life. So I get tons of my clients these days all over the United States from that blog. And a lot of my blogs have gone viral. And then there's a lot of word of mouth for me, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been around so long now, and I've been writing so long and stuff that people are finding their way to me. I mean, I'm busy all the time,
Good for
and then
you.
began a specialty about 15 years ago in marriage crisis management. I have a real special place in my heart for people whose marriage is blowing up and might end in divorce, and I've seen a lot of people end up divorced prematurely perhaps or unnecessarily, and so I've created a method of handling that from the moment the marriage crisis begins, or I offer support to them throughout that information and help them make the wisest decisions for their families, you know. So that's a real special niche of mine. And then that led to me writing a book about it,
Oh,
which
talk
my
more
book
about
is
your
coming
book.
out.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah, my
coming out.
book's coming out February 4th, and I'm so excited. It's truly you know, the my life's work in the book,
Yeah.
and it's for people. It's called I Think I Want Out: What to Do When One of You Wants to End Your Marriage, and it's for people in marriage crisis. And again, it follows them all the way through the crisis. I inform them, I educate them, I give them advice, I teach them how to manage the situation so they don't create a disaster, and then of course keeping the kids in mind,
Yeah.
how we're not going to damage our children anymore in the divorce and dating world. So,
Wow.
and that's a real pet peeve of mine is date people, single parents dating and
Yeah.
how it affects their children. You need to let me come back and talk about that
Oh yeah,
sometime.
definitely. That's a good topic to talk about, single mothers and all that, because that's
Yeah.
another hot button topic that I've been seeing. If somebody want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Go to my website, marriagecrisismanager.com. All my contact information is there. And if you go to my blog on Medium, you will also find all my contact information there.
Yeah, I'll definitely put it on the show notes. Well, first of all, Dr. Becky, I had a great time talking to you. Like I said, I could probably talk to you another hour, and I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
It's my pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye bye.